Good evening, everyone. Done today. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Armin J. Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. Now we're gonna talk about Abraham, unknown faith, and he trusted God. Now sometimes you can't wherever you can't see, you have to still have faith. You have to still have faith, and we're gonna see that Abraham ain't gonna understand. You know, he ain't gonna understand what God tell him to go do that, but he'll have an unknown faith, and he gonna trust. He gonna have confidence to trust God. Now Abraham had waited a long time for a child, but God had told him to bring his promised child to the top of the hill to be sacrificed. Now that could be a hard thing, to do to bring your only, son to be sacrificed after wait a long time. But Abraham don't understand, and it don't make sense to him, but he obeyed, because he have an unknown faith and he have confidence in God. So God tested Abraham. Genesis 22:1. God would test Abraham. Now this test to see if Abraham trusts God. And he also wants to see if he have a big faith. Then God said, take your son, your only son, who you love, and Isaac, to go to the region of sacrifice him on top of the mountain, for a burnt offering. You know, um, Abraham obeyed and he set out, without hesitation, without even asking questions. He trusts God enough, you know, trust God enough to not even ask questions. Just go, and he trusts in something that he cannot see, that he don't understand, but he know God gonna provide. So he said to his servant, now stay here, with the donkey, while I and the boy go over there and we will worship and then come back to you. Now he's showing his faith right there. Now he supposed to be going to sacrifice his son. So you sacrifice your son, that's it. But Abraham said, we're gonna worship and me and my son is coming back. So that go to show you he had faith right then and there. He was trusting God that God gonna provide. He don't know how, he can't see it, but he have faith, knowing that God is not gonna kill the promised child. Now Abraham, with an unknown faith, he trusted God knowing that he's not going to sacrifice his son. Now he know God will make a way. God is a maker. So Abraham took everything he need. The fire, the wood, he took everything he need. But see, this a small child. He paying attention. Now, Isaac had spoke up and he said, Father, I see you have the fire, you have the wood, and you have the knife. But Father, what is the lamb for the burnt offering? What is the lamb? Now see, this boy paid attention. He see everything his father had, but he don't see the sacrifice. So Isaac had walked with his father and noticed that something is missing. Now his father have everything he need, but where is the lamb? Now Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering. So that tell you right there, he had so much trust in God. Now he know, God said sacrifice. But he know he's not going up there and sacrifice. He don't know how God gonna do it, but he know God gonna provide. And God tested him because later on, God will have his only forgotten son on that cross for a human sacrifice. So he's trying to see if anybody else, will take their own forgotten son to do that. Now he see Abraham will. So they had reached the place that God had told him about. Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood, on it, and then bind his son on top of it. Now imagine you putting your son on top of the wood to be sacrificed. Put him on top of the wood to be sacrificed. Now, I don't know what was going through Abraham's mind, but I know he was feeling something. But Abraham maintained his unknown faith, Don't know how God will come through, but he trusts God. Abraham's son is a promised child. Without him, there will be no heir. There will be no promise. There will be no plan. No. See, God was not going to let him sacrifice his son because Isaac's the main purpose. Isaac gonna produce Jacob. Jacob gonna produce um Joseph. Joseph gonna get it started. Abraham, the children of one gonna make it a nation. So he need Isaac. So then reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. Now he had it in a position. He didn't hesitate at all. Now if nobody wouldn't have stopped him, he would have sliced his son. But he had faith that he knew he wasn't going to go all the way down to his son. Abraham followed God's instruction and bound his son on the altar and laid a knife in position to slay his son without hesitating. So he had confidence in God even though he couldn't see how God was going to provide, but he know God was going to step in, and he still trusted God in the position. So that what you call an unknown faith. That's what you call unknown faith. That tell you he loved God and then he loved his son. But see, God had told us he want us to love him first. Then you love your children, your mama, and everything else. And we see Abraham following instruction. He loved God first and then his son. But the angels of the Lord had called out to Abraham from heaven, Abraham. Because he in position. I bet he was sweating and everything else. Do not lay a hand on the boy, they said. Do not do nothing to the boy. Abraham feared God, but he have not withheld from his son, his only son. It's difficult to let go, especially your only son that he waited for a long time for. But he was willing to surrender. Now he trusts God that he will provide, and he had an unknown faith, and he could not see, but he trusts God. And sometimes we got to have that kind of faith. We have to have that kind of unknown faith. We can't see it, but we have to still trust God. He couldn't see it. He couldn't understand, but he had trust God. Abraham had looked up. When he looked up, and there was the ram. He caught it by his horn, and he took the ram and sacrificed it as his burnt offering instead of his son. God is good. And God wasn't going to sacrifice his son. But he trusted God. God wanted to see how much he loved him. God wanted to see how big his faith was. Because God said love him first. And sometimes it's hard for us to do that. When we comfort our kids so much. But we have to realize God gave us our kids. And so we see that God provides. God only wanted to test Abraham's faith. He said God was going to provide, and God provided. God provide. Now, since Abraham have not withheld his son, his only son, he did not withheld. So I will surely bless you. That's it. This how Abraham got so blessed. I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the star in the sky. As the sand of the seashore. Your deceiving will be a possession of the city and their enemy. Abraham received abundance of blessing. Because of his unknown faith, he didn't know how God was going to provide. But see, God promised to give Abraham the ability to conquer the enemy. And so, and through your offspring, and all the nation on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me. And I saw that you feel me, you love me, and everything else. And see, that's how Abraham, everybody, anything that was around Abraham was blessed. The nation was blessed. Next door neighbor was blessed. Because Lot, he was overflowing with blessed because he was following Abraham. He was blessed. The whole nation was blessed because of Abraham's faith. Because of Abraham's unknown faith. Because Abraham had trust God. And he had a kind of faith that nobody else had never had got behind him. He done blessed a lot of people, David and everything, but the blessing never was like Abraham. So, and through your offspring, that's why the Israelite, God take a light in the Israelite because of Abraham. He loved the Abraham so much for Abraham to trust him that much with his only child. He blessed Abraham, never blessed nobody else like that before. God promised to bless his seed, and the whole nation will be blessed through Abraham. Now, because he trusts God without knowing how God was going to provide, he was willing. He had the hand in position. If the angel would have said, put your hand down, he probably would have slain his son. Abraham had to wait a long time for a child. God said, bring your only child on top of the mountain to be sacrificed. Abraham didn't ask questions, but obeyed. Now, he took his only son. He couldn't see how God was going to provide. But he had an unknown faith, and he trusts God. And since he obeyed God, and when he obeyed God, he was going down with the knife. And God said, hold it, don't slay your son. Put the knife down. Look up and look around you. That was a ram right there. So he said God was going to provide. God did provide. Now since he obeyed God, he is about to be blessed. Not only him be blessed, anybody near Abraham, the whole nation, and your seed that you don't even have yet, your seed going to be a whole nation, and you ain't going to be able to see it, but God still going to take care of it. And we know that he took care of the Israelites. His seed in the whole nation will be blessed, because of his unknown faith. So also myself, I also have an unknown faith. Don't know how I'm going to get out of this storm. Don't know how God going to provide. I don't know how my breakthrough is going to come. But I'm still having an unknown faith. Still holding on to God's word. So sometimes God will test your faith. And God will see if you're going to give in and throw in the towel. He watched Abraham to see if Abraham was going to change his mind and say, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. Abraham didn't change his mind. He watched Job. And see if Job was going to give in and curse him out. But Job didn't. He went through the process. And sometimes the process is hard. The waiting part is hard. But just like Abraham, and Job, and myself, we don't know how God gonna get you out of the storm. We don't know how God gonna provide. We don't know how God gonna see it. We don't see it. But we have hope. We have to have faith, and you have to believe that someday you're gonna get out of this. That's how Job was. Job didn't know how. He didn't know when God gonna step in. Abraham didn't know how God gonna provide, but he still trusted God. So I'm in the same predicament that Abraham was. But Abraham really loved and trust God. And we all love God. We always say we love God, but will we willing to take our only son to a mountain and sacrifice him? See, Abraham showed his love, you know. And so we in a storm. I'm in a storm. Don't know how I'm going to get out of it. Don't know when it's a breakthrough. But I still have an unknown faith, believing and trusting that one day it will come to an end. Everything come to a pass. Everything comes to an end. And sometimes it's going to feel like there's no ending. The devil wants you to think that there's no ending. We don't know what was going to Abraham mind. We don't know, like, if he was mumbling on his breath, oh God, come on now, God, I got my hand in position, God. I said you're going to provide, God. How are you going to provide, God? Stop me, God. So we don't know what was going to cross Abraham's mind. But he had that knife in position until the angel told him to put it down. So that's all I have for you today. Sometimes if you really believe God and trust God, you'll have to have an unknown faith, saying that you don't see it, you don't know how, but you got to trust God. You don't know when, but you're going to trust God. You don't know how He's going to do it, but you're going to trust God. And so that's the way we have to look at it, because He done test all along. Joe, David, God saw that David was running from Saul, trying to look around. It was 20 years. God was waiting for him to just give up and throw in the towel, and he did got frustrated. See, God knows when we at the end of our rope. He prayed to God, look, God, you know me since I was a teenager. I'm running from cage to cage. Running from my enemy, running from Saul, running from my son. But when? See, you don't know when God gonna do it. You don't know how God gonna do it. And so God finally, give him the chance to be the king. When God saw that he couldn't take no more. And sometimes when you pray to God, when you're at the end of your rope, and he can feel it in your heart that you're at the end of your rope. And so that's all I have for you today. Keep a strong faith in your storm and trust God. And that's all I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed and safe night, and I see y'all in the next video.